On July 29th, 2022, my next guest became the CFFC Middleweight Champion of the world. And since then, he has got a phone call from Dana White and company asking him to compete on the Contender series. I am talking about my man, Donovan, the highlight reel Beard. Champ, thank you for being on my show, man. It's an honor to talk to you.
Man, it's an honor to be on the show and be invited. And I really appreciate you, Mr. Little. And I can't wait to get the interview going and let the crowd know my side of the story.
Well, let's get your side of the story. And I want to pick right up on CFFC 111. Now, this was a fight that going into this, like half the damn roster on CFFC follows me. I know a lot of you guys that fight on CFFC. You all know who you are. I'm not going to rat anybody out, but you all know who you are. I've been DMing you guys. I was DMing you guys about this fight. And I was like, I'm telling you, this Beard guy, people aren't talking about him. People aren't giving this guy a chance. And I don't think enough people are talking about his accolades, what he's done, his experience going into this fight. I was like, if you're asking me who I'm taking for this fight, I'm taking Beard. Me and like two other people on Tapology took you, and you proved all the doubters wrong. You made me feel really, really smart. Talk to me about that fight. Talk to me about what was that build-up like? What was the training experience like? And did you kind of feel like, I don't know if disrespected is the right word, but did you kind of feel like blue corner? You know what I mean? Like blue corner. I'm blue corner, solid blue corner. Like you've been in the fight game long enough to know what I'm talking about. So I'd love to get your thoughts on just the build up for your last fight.
I'm training, and then I get pulled to the side by my coach, DeJuan Pigney, and he lets me know about a title opportunity for CFFC, and I'm just like, oh, okay, professional belt. I'm cool with that, you know. He telling me, just like my other training partner told me, Chauncey Foxworth, he was all like, hey, if you win this belt, you getting called up there to UFC or Bellator. And I'm like, really? Oh, I'm just, okay, I'm cool with that, whatever. So I get the contract, and I'm like, all right, bet,
Let's go.
Belt on the line, vacant title on the line. Because at first, it was scheduled for the guy that was holding the belt, but he ended up going to Bellator. But he ended up leaving, so it became vacant. So me and Miles Lee were contending for it. Following up to the fight, training went extremely well.
For Miles in particular, I wanted to ask you this question. Did you know his style? Like people know, a lot of people know who Miles Lee is. He's that Renzo Gracie dude, popular gym. I feel, and I say this with all due respect to Mr. Lee. I admire him. I think he's a great fighter. I think the organization was pushing him a little bit because you don't really see guys with 3, 4, 5, between 3 and 4 fights get a title shot. So I felt like they were pushing him a little bit.
Yeah, that's what me and my coaches were going over as we were in training camp and discussing his wrestling accolades and skills and stuff like that. And we were just getting prepared for what he was going to do and how he was going to do it according to the film that I watched and they watched separately. And then we came up with a game plan, and we got the win the way it wasn't the way that we wanted, but it's the way it happened, and it is what it is,
So when I was looking at that fight and I was watching it unfold, it became really quick what the plan was. It was, okay, I'm going to shoot for this takedown. I'm not standing up with this guy, which was smart. I felt he had a good game plan against you. I thought it was smart because I was like, I wouldn't want to stand up against this guy either. He's way taller than us. He's got a reach advantage over us. Let's take that away. Let's put him on the ground. So for Miles and for his coaches and all his teammates that helped him get ready, I tip my hat to them. I'm like, you guys had a great game plan. Good for you. Some people will, oh, that shit was boring. They weren't. No, like, listen, Miles was there to win. He tried to fight the fight on his terms in a way that was most advantageous to him. But everything's risky in retrospect, right? Like, and it works until it doesn't work. And then you get caught like how he did. And then I'm sure he got a lot of shit for, like, why didn't you stand up with that guy? Well, there's a reason for that, because you're freaking huge and you're really long. And I thought he fought intelligently. What I wanted to hit on, though, for you, at no point in this fight did you look frustrated to me. Like, he took you down on the ground and was in your full guard the entire time. He was trying to ground and pound, and then you were hunting for subs the entire time. Like, that's basically what I felt the duration of the 4 rounds was. And then you would just get up and go to your corner like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. Like, you never appeared frustrated to me. What were you kind of talking about in the corner? Like, when you're talking to your coaches as the fight was progressing, knowing that he had top control, the rounds are maybe ticking off and maybe going on his side of things. Did you feel like that sense of urgency? Like, you never looked frustrated and you never really looked worried, like you were doing anything reckless out there that would like potentially get you in more trouble. You just looked really even keeled, calm, cool, and collected. Is that how you always are?
Always and forever, but cool, calm, and collective. Dangerous situations ain't strange to me, whether I'm in the cage or outside the cage. And as far as how I was feeling, I ain't gonna lie, I was a little frustrated around the second and third round. I mean, I got up the second round and threw a triangle and got us stood up in the third and end up getting put back down because I made a mistake while I was striking. So certain points. Oh, and then I got hung up against the cage a little too long. So certain points like that did frustrate me because it's like, come on, Donovan, I know you can do better than that. We do this all the time. Like, stop acting dumb. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So to a point, I always kept in the back of my mind that, all right, round number 1 is over. It's cool. Round number 2, it's fine. You got 2 more. 3. All right, man, come on. You got to do something. You got to do something. Here comes 4. This is your last chance. You got to do something right now.
Right.
and
the fight ended up ending with you in the 4th round, the 4th and final round, securing a triangle on Miles Lee. And did you know once you put that triangle up that the fight was over?
Oh, yes, sir. Because the moment I locked it, I know whenever I got it, it's a python. It's an anaconda. It's a strangle. No, you're not getting. I'll kill you before you tap out.
Yeah, you're not getting out. You're not getting out.
I don't want to kill nobody. Don't get it wrong. You know what I mean? But I've seen clips where people tap out folks, they be tapping and everything, and then next thing you know, the referee didn't see it, then they getting up, oh, I won. Then next thing you know, they're getting beat up and they done lost the fight because the referee didn't see the other person tap out. And no. I'm gonna do my job and finish. You do your job and pull me out.
And that's exactly what ended up happening. You pulled one out. A lot of people were like, man, this guy pulled one out at the last minute. He secured the sub. Hats off to him. And I was kind of thinking to myself, like, okay, cool. Like, I wonder if these guys are going to run it back. I wonder what's next for you. I'm doing my research for, the secret squirrel MMA stuff that I do behind the scenes that nobody knows, right? And then I found out, I'm like, I'm on Tapology, and I'm like, holy crap, they gave this guy a shot on the Contender series. I'm talking about you. I'm like, this just happened out of nowhere, at least to me. And you seem to like, you just told me, you're like, Tyler, like, we knew if we got this fight, we were going to get on the radar. We were probably going to get an opportunity to get on the Contender series. Well, of course, little old me isn't going to know that. I see you on Tapology. I see that you're about to fight Bo Nickal, and I hit you up. I was like, I got to talk to this guy because I was waiting to talk to him for the next CFFC fight, but there isn't going to be another CFFC fight because now you're in the show. So I had to ask, just winning that championship, before we talk about Nickal and before we talk about Contender, what did that feel like? Like, getting that belt and getting your hand raised, because coming into that fight as the blue corner, like I said before, I don't think that was supposed to happen, right? Like, I think he kind of ruined some plans with the promotion. I think it's safe to say that they maybe expected something to happen that didn't go according to plan. You're the fly in the ointment that ruins all their plans and gets that belt. That had to have been a sweet feeling. That had to have been like one of those great "I told you so" moments.
Basically.
How what was that like? Like, what was that experience like? Like winning that belt? I know you've won all kinds of them in the past, but was this one a little sweeter?
Way sweeter, like candy, like my favorite candy, Charms Blow Pops,
There we
candy,
go.
sweet. And what? And you was talking about Tabology, so every now and again I would look on Tabology to look at the matchups and predictions and stuff like that. Man, when I looked at those numbers, I'm like, okay, you all how much? I mean, it was 140 some or 180 some people. I'm like, every last one of y'all, watch this, watch this. Just like it's like 250 people on Tapology right now with the Bo Nickal thing.
So
Watch.
let's look for Miles Lee. I'll pull it up right now. 138 people, 12% picked you to win that fight.
Yeah, see, I was like, 138 of you MFers. I'm gonna watch this.
Yeah,
Watch this.
yeah, 138. So now we're on the nickel fight. So if we click on that, and you're in the main event, of course. Where are we at right now? Okay, so we're almost at 200. 95% for on nickel right now.
See?
I mean, like, what are we talking about? Like, what? Like, did people forget? Like, we're talking about prize fighting. Like, it's really interesting to me when I see some of these lines and I see things happen. Like, a good example is like Nate Diaz against Shemaev. I know that fight never happened, but like it was similar. Like 98% of Tapology was like, "Oh yeah, Shemaev is going to win this fight," and I'm like, "Okay, I understand that. I'm not dissing people for thinking he's going to win, but also at the same time, it's like we're talking about fighting here, like fighting, like the most unpredictable thing that there is to predict. Like, it's just odd to me that how people are so confident about some of these outcomes sometimes, because I'm just like, we're talking about fighting, like we're talking about experience. Like Nate Diaz, like look at that guy's experience, look at what he has been able to do. Like, is he in his prime anymore? No, but he still got this. And if he has this and he has his ground game, which he still does, and Tony found that out, you're always going to be a threat. You're always going to be a danger. And for a wrestler like Nickal, if he's going to take you down dry, oh boy, that you might want to rethink that plan. I know that's what he wants to do. He's going to come into it, and listen, we all know he's not going to stand there and box you. We all know what his game plan is going to be. And, I don't want you to give anything away, but at the same time, it's also like, you know what? I'm going to let you take me down dry. That's fine. Go ahead. But, that's just
Honestly,
little.
I welcome it because I want him to. Everything that I worked on with all the guys that I've been training with and all the experience that I have, I want him to try to take me down because he gonna instantly regret it every single time, especially when I get up. Or he ain't gonna really take me down, to be honest with you. My sprawl game is too good. My underhook game is too great. It ain't nothing. What he gonna do? Ain't nothing he gonna do.
Donovan, can you talk to me? You have the strap, you go home after ruining everyone's plans. Maybe you have an adult beverage or two to celebrate. And then, of course, before you go back into the gym and start doing all your cool guy stuff, training all your students and whatnot. I know you're busy. I see you on there all the time doing all kinds of stuff. How soon was it before you got that call from the UFC saying like, "Hey man, like we have an opportunity for you. We'd like you to come on the Contender series"? The fight just happened against Miles Lee. 2 months ago, and here we are in like September. Like, talk about like not a whole lot of time going by. Like, were you expecting like this opportunity to show up so soon?
To be honest, no. Everything just like came at me like a tidal wave, man. It just blew me away. Like I was in shock, like a deer in the headlight. Like, what the hell's going on? Help me. Well, like matter of fact, the cow I got, it was August 11th. I had
Mm-hmm.
wrote it down on my board or whatever. Um, I was in training and I got a missed call to tell me that everything was getting figured out or whatever. So I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, okay. So waited about a week or two, and on August 11th, he called me and was like, hey, fight's on. What? And how it all happened, like I'm just training like I usually am. And matter of fact, I'm sorry. I was on vacation in Texas with my family,
Mm-hmm.
and I get a phone call from Iridium's. Shouts out to my sponsor, my agency, Iridium. They were telling me that they could sign me and get me a fight on the Contender Series or a late replacement in the UFC Fight Night fight. So I'm just like, okay, go on,
Yeah.
just telling me who he represents and things like that, and basically letting me know like, hey, the moment you get this going, we can get our motion going to get you where you need to be going. So, listening to my teammates, one of my teammates in particular, Kirkland, he was just like, bro, if you don't freaking do it, like you don't lost your effing mind, like do it.
You got to.
So you know what I mean? And then I got my coach's blessing and then my other teammates' blessing because they've been in it longer than I have, and I really look up to those guys. So going along with them and what my homeboy said, I went and called him like, hey, I'm down to sign. Let's ride. So we signed, and then now we at where we at. And yeah, that just damn, you know.
And did you sign that contract knowing that Bo was the guy you were gonna fight, or is it just like, no, I'm down, just send it to me, whoever? Like, do you even know who it is that you're fighting when you sign that contract, or is it just one of those
that's
like?
what I was. That's what I was getting to. I got lost for a second. So how that happened? Bo Nickal fought Borrego, and Borrego fought Kirkland as an amateur a couple years ago, maybe about a year or something ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me right after Bo Nickal won, and he was like, "Bro, did you just see that fight?" And I'm just like, "What fight?" The Contender Series fight. Borrego is on there. He fought Bo Nickal. Bo Nickal won. Blah blah blah. I'm just like, you should. I'm like, okay, whatever. You should call and fight that guy. I'm like, Kirk, it don't work like that. You can't just call people and be like, hey, I want to fight that guy right now. And there's certain protocols and steps and procedures that you got to follow
Sure.
and all that stuff. You know what I mean? But in the back of my mind, I'm just like, I wonder if that do work out like that. So I'm just like, huh. I'm like, hey, can we go fight that guy? Like, is there somebody we gotta talk to? Like, hey. Next thing I know, he called me while I was in training, and I got the news, and then I got the confirmation, and MMA Junkie just blasted it all over social media and everywhere else. And then I'm just seeing people tag me and stuff and tag Bo and everything. I'm just like, dang. So this is really happening. And
This is.
now we 10 days out. And to be honest, I'm not gonna feel like it's real until I go in and weigh in and
Yeah.
make that walk.
And so, like, when you know that you have a fight like this, a fight this big, and then just coming off of another big fight, like you're talking about, that's like a lot of pressure, man. Like that's like a lot to breathe in about, let out a sigh, and like, okay, like this is what I do. This is what I signed up to do. Like I'm a prize fighter, and like pressure's part of this game. And I know, I look at him like, man, this guy must be dealing with a lot of pressure. That's a lot on your shoulders to keep this going. But you've been doing this for a while now, and like you've lost one fight, but like there's pressure to like keep a streak alive. There's pressure every single time that you go into a cage. So is that like something that's like real for you right now? Like feeling that pressure because you're on such a big stage like the Contender series, or in a way, is it kind of like any other fight?
It's like that in both aspects, to be honest with you. It's just another fight to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just on a bigger stage in front of a bigger crowd. That's all. And as far as the nerves go, hell yeah, I'm nervous. I ain't gonna lie
Mm-hmm.
to you.
Mm-hmm.
Nervous, scared, you know, anxious, all of that, that's a part of any human being. And anybody that says that they're not, that's a lie. But
Yeah.
anybody will put on a poker face and lie. But, it is what it is. I'm gonna be
But I
honest
would
with myself.
imagine, is it fair to say though, like it's part of the process? Like once you're there though, like and you get locked in and you're in that back room and you're hitting mitts and they're like, okay, like we got 5 minutes or whatever, like there's gotta be a switch that like flips in you. Or maybe you flip that switch even before that, but like everything must settle down once that flip switches for you.
Oh man, it's easy to flip that switch on because whenever they call me, I'm already ready. I already come dressed and ready to go. I got my cup on underneath my clothing that I'm already having. So whenever they call me, all I gotta do is if I have to use the bathroom, I go do that or whatever, and then I already be ready to go. You stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready.
Absolutely. Is when you think about making the walk, knowing that the world is going to be watching you in a prime time spot, I mean, it's like it'll make the hair on your arm stand up for a little bit. It's like, oh wow, like this is what we've been fighting for all these years. Like fighting in these shows where 30 people show up, half of them are wasted and they're like hanging out at the bar, not even paying attention at the fight. Like you fought in promotions like that, I'm sure, as an amateur, maybe your first or second pro fight, and now, like you look around, even CFFC, you watch that production, it's like, oh wow, we got cameras going on, we got like, I'm fighting in like a Hard Rock hotel now. It's like, wow, there's an actual production. Like there are commentators. Like even at the CFFC, you kind of like get that sort of exposure. But then when it carries over into the UFC, do you think that kind of like and as you fought more and more and more, and you fought for more reputable promotions, and just getting that exposure for what a production is actually like, does that kind of like give you a sense like, okay, I kind of like I've been down this path before. I've like experienced this before, so I kind of limit that sort of fish out of water experience to a degree, I should say.
Right. I really always compared it to being in the neighborhood or being in the schoolyard or in the locker room or whatever. So how it all starts out, two people mad, one
Yeah.
pushes one punches another. Everybody starts to gather around. Everybody's, oh my God, what's the name of this fighting? Oh my God. And then one other person is pulling out the camera,
Oh yeah.
because camera phones were kind of known back then in the 90s. I mean, not 90s, in the early 2000s and 2010s and whatever. And then you got the referee, aka the teacher or whoever whichever adult is around at the time, breaking it up.
Mm-hmm.
So it just goes back to where you come from, if you ever were from there. But if you weren't, then you wouldn't know nothing about that unless you were in an organized environment.
Absolutely. One of the things that I think is so fascinating about the Contender series, well, fascinating for me, it makes it for good television. I don't know how I'd feel about it if I were on the other end, though, if I were an actual fighter, because there has to be that sort of decompression period, right? Like you fight, and then it's like, okay, I'm in the locker room now. I'm getting the blood off me. I'm getting like gloves off me. Like I'm like decompressing and like just trying to like process everything that just happened, right? But in the Contender series, it doesn't work like that. It's like, okay, all the winners, if you lost, go get cleaned up, go shower. Thank you, have a good night. But like if you're a winner, it's like, hey, go sit in one of those chairs. We know you're all bloody, nasty, and sweaty or whatever, and you're still trying to like decompress and make sense out of what the hell just happened. Sit in one of those chairs. We're gonna put a bunch of cameras on you, and Dana White is gonna tell the world whether or not you did enough to like make it into this promotion or not. Like that's a totally different level or a totally different layer of preparations that I would have to do to like mentally prepare for that moment. It's like, because in a way it's almost like two fights, really. It's like the physical fight and then a mental fight when you're sitting there like a dating contestant or something like that. It's got to be wild, man. Like how do you prepare for something like that?
Well, like I said, just like any old other fight, it's basically like another job interview. Like, all right, fight this guy, then we'll hire you. Okay, but you got to make it look good. Okay, that ain't nothing. I mean, that ain't nothing. I mean, you'll see. Just give me a chance, shut the door, and let me do the rest.
And you have got to be thinking to yourself, like, do you kind of embrace this idea? Like when I just told you, like 95% of Tapology is on Nickal. Like the narratives going into this, like when we Google Dana White Contender Series here in another week or so, you're going to see 90% of headlines and 90% of them are going to be about Nickal. And you might be in one sentence of every one of those stories that come out. Does that make you smile in a way? Like nobody's talking to me. Only the mom's basement guy's talking about me, but nobody else is. Is that kind of nice in a way? Do you feel like a lot of that pressure shifted onto him to deliver and to perform? It's like more expectations are being thrust upon him in a way.
Oh yeah, because he in the limelight and everybody expects him to win, and he better win. He has to win, or otherwise, if he don't win, he won't get in. And here comes little old me. Oh man, if he wins, oh my God! Like watch, and I got folks like you on my side that's gonna ride and let the world know that hey, I'm the one that you should not be doubting right about now. And what? Oh, see, every time I do one of these podcasts, I get more excited and excited and excited, like my dog here. Charles, go over there.
Well, you have a beautiful looking dog.
Thank you, thank you.
I have a black lab. She's upstairs
Right.
though.
I say he's a pit and a terrier mix. Go over there, buddy.
It's got to be one of those things though where it's like everyone's talking about him. The pressure is all on him to perform, and you just need to fight and do what you've done for years and years and years, and that has, to me, like it's making the best out of a situation like this, like a high pressure situation like this. It's like, okay, cool, keep talking about him, keep talking about the top team guy, keep talking about the collegiate wrestler that went 202 or some whatever absurd record that guy has. Because in wrestling, the guy was like, yeah, like in wrestling, he was a G. We'll give him that, but we're not wrestling. Like we're talking about mixed martial arts. This isn't wrestling. Wrestling is not MMA. It's not MMA. It's not the same thing.
Exactly. So whenever I show the world that he's human and he's able to feel pain whenever I hit him, wherever I hit him, the world is gonna know that dang, everybody he's not God. He is not the immortal. And then the other guy can wrestle. Oh my God, yeah, I can wrestle too. I might not have done it in high school or since I was 2, but I can wrestle too. So I'm gonna show y'all what's up.
What
Man, I've
would
never had no boxing, no kickboxing, no wrestling, no none of that. Just straight MMA. That's it.
and you know what? There are going to be more and more people just like you as the sport gets more and more popular. Like you're going to see people go down that pathway. I think the path you took is going to become more and more common as time goes on, and we're starting to see it already. I'm sure you notice a difference in what some of the MMA gyms look like compared to like 4 or 5 years ago compared to today. I'm sure it's night and day difference.
Oh man, I love the gym that I'm at. And I've been there for 4 years, and I don't plan on going nowhere else because they shown me the love that I always needed to push on and be great.
Do you think there's pressure, a fighter at your level, being a champion, a multiple champion, and multiple promotions? Is there pressure, right? Like, hey man, like you need to be at like ATT Atlanta, or hey man, you need to be over at like, insert name of like really big popular gym or whatever. Like, do you get like people asking those types of questions? Do some of these gyms like hit you up and like, yo man, come check us out, we'd love to like have you? Like, is that a thing? Does that happen
Yeah,
often?
yeah. I've been invited to certain places, and I've appreciated the invitation, but I don't mean that I'm gonna be staying there.
Yeah.
I'll come through for a vacation, but I'm not gonna permanently make that my residence and gym. You know what I mean? I would love to just train and show everybody what I learned there at my gym. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I respect everyone's uh what was the regimen and
Hmm.
how they run things at their gym and stuff like that. I mean, I feel like we're all doing the same thing. We're punching, kicking, submitting people the same way.
Hmm.
Everybody just has a different perspective.
I am of the opinion like when it comes to like some of these big gyms where it's like I'm not talking about like cross training. I'm talking about like they're like, no, we want you like here forever, like one of those type of things, right? Like we want to be your primary gym. I look at it and I'm just like, think really hard about where you are at this point in your career and like what you could be potentially getting into. And I'm not saying that all big gyms are bad gyms. I'm not saying that. I'm just simply saying don't discount a small gym because they know you really well and they could always bring in people to help like build you up. I think sometimes people go into these big gyms with like fairy dust in their head. Then they get there, and then it's like it's maybe not what they thought it would be.
Because you got to think about it. Whenever you go into a gym that only has 10 people, maybe 7 out of 10 of those people work just as hard as any other person from a gym that's has 100 people and only have like 10 solid hard workers there, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody else just be bull crapping. You know what I mean? And like I tell my teammates, you're only as good as your teammate. So if I'm not being a good teammate, then you're not going to be a good teammate for me.
Yeah.
And if I'm not a good teammate for you, then you can't be a good teammate for me because we here to get each other better and correct our mistakes as a whole. And if we can't do that collectively, then what are you calling yourself my teammate for?
Exactly.
Or brother or a family member, if you know.
Yeah,
I get that deep.
it's one of those things though where I always reflect on that and think about it because particularly with some of these younger guys like, oh, I have a chance to train at, I'm not going to call any gym out, I'll just say a big gym. Then they get there and it's like, oh man, like the coaches, like I'm not getting any work in. Coaches aren't really doing anything for me. Like
Because
I
they
don't.
already have the people that they're focusing on
Yep. Yeah.
already.
Exactly.
They've been invested in them for years, and here you come thinking, "Oh, I'm the next prodigy." No,
No,
you got to
you're.
earn that
Yeah.
look first before you can even be considered to be brought in as such.
Yeah.
And then you trying to overshadow the person that been there longer than you and has a better relationship with everybody than you. Slap yourself.
Well, I think it's also one of those things too, though, where it's like I think reality hits them. It's like, no, man, like you are going to have to like prove yourself. That's going to take some time. Um, and you know, it could be you can find yourself in a really difficult situation if you're a brand new pro, for example. You're like 2-0 or something like that, and you're trying to get attention. That could be a difficult spot to be in. When you think about the middleweight division in the UFC, there are some interesting guys that are in there, and there are some like really like fun matchups potentially in that weight class. Are there like I know it's one of those things where it's like I highly doubt there's like one or two people that you had in mind, but like are there people in that middleweight division where you like when you watch it on the UFC, when you see guys like Nokajawani and Rodriguez fighting in the co-main event that's happening later on tonight, when you watch these guys perform, do you get like excited, like, man, I want to fight these guys, they look good, like, not that I dislike them or anything like that, it's just like these guys are hella good and I want to fight them.
Exactly, I do. I want to fight the best in the world to let them know I'm the best in the world. And first and foremost, whoever I got lined up, whoever my coach points at, I'm gonna punch them, regardless of who it is, where they come from, what gym they come from. It don't even matter. The American top team, Black Zillions, AKA, I don't care. It don't matter.
Any one of them can get it. Donovan, you are a gentleman. I really appreciate your time this afternoon. Before I let you go, I want to give you the opportunity, though. You talked about your teammates. I think that's really important. If there's any teammates that you'd like to shout out, or if there are any sponsors or anything like that that you need to talk about, I wanted to give you that chance to do before I let you go.
First and foremost, my Lord and Savior, all of my teammates at Off Chain MMA, all of my fans, friends, family, and foes, my sponsors, Be Nice Arkansas, The Hybrid Kitchen, M&T Tippett Incorporated, Tim's Barbershop, Saki Bills, Belly Southern Catering, Disaster Masters Restoration, and Ovens Painting Service. Shout out to the whole Hot Springs, Arkansas for supporting me and having my back through the years of me on this MMA journey. Shout out to my dog, getting on my nerves because he want to go outside.
Completely
And
understand.
shout out to my agency, Iridium Sports. Oh, and my other sponsor, Canna River. They supply all the finest CBD and Delta 8 and 9 products that you could ever use. Hit them up if you ever need anything. And that's about it.
Well, there's only one other thing. There's only one thing left that you have to do. Fight. You just got to fight this guy. We need to get a dub. We need to get your hand raised, and we need to let the world know more about you. I think it's only going to be a matter of time before you are going to be on that big stage and you are going to be fighting on some of these pay-per-view cards soon. It's going to be happening. It's going to be real cool to see. Donovan, thank you so much for your time, man. Hope we can do it again soon.
Thank you so much again. And I really appreciate the invite. And you have a wonderful day. And I hope to God I can get me on the December card before the year is over, because that would be my Christmas present. You hear me?